But the first thing I want to say is the fact that these two sort of pieces of work are kind of coming our way doesn't indicate we've all been sort of sat around twiddling our thumbs thinking, hey, it'd be lovely to do something. I wish the diocese would say what we ought to be doing. Actually, we've all been really busy doing all kinds of amazing bits of ministry and work. There's all kinds of really exciting things happening in our individual churches, our parishes, our benefices. And the first thing we want to do is to get you doing a bit of chatting. So what we want you to do in a moment is talk in groups, or perhaps around your table, or if you think, I'd like to talk to somebody else, swivel round and talk to another table. And what we'd like you to do is just say something about what's encouraged you in the life of your church recently.
We had our confirmation service on Sunday, and there was two young men in their 30s who were confirmed. They took part in the service. One did the prayers, and one read the service, did the Bible readings, and it was really great. Everybody, it just really felt like a proper church family, and that was great. And they struck up really well. I didn't even recognise them. These guys here are all fired because they're going to get the Children's Church Lads and Girls Brigade have approached them, and they're really looking forward to some youth and kids and that coming into their church. And this young lady here has just finished the Multiplied Discipleship course, and she's all buzzing and fired up with that. So that's our little group here.
Coming into Regnum, it's given us a drive to work together as a benefice rather than two separate churches, and we do have a mission champion.
Fantastic!
What would the opposite be like? Unhealthy churches not making a difference. And when you put the negative, unhealthy churches not making a difference, you realise that in fact the positive is essential. And you just told us a whole host of things where you are healthy, you are healthy churches, and you said the differences that you are making, the transformations that you're making. It's natural and it's where you already are, but we need to work on it. When I first started courting my wife, which will be, and we've actually got to think deliberately about that. I once wrote in the Sea about how I noticed that driving schools always have to drive under the speed limit, because you go, oh, I won't go there if they misbehave. Well, similarly, as Christians, we should live out our faith as with the times, as communities and as individuals, and it's just natural the way we would bear witness, and to know how we got involved in the church. Because we also need to work on growing our leaders, taking the risks. I caused a mini Twitter storm. I have no idea what that means, someone told me. But I caused a mini Twitter storm because I, at one of the vision evenings, said that in the newspaper industry in the 1960s, 70s and 80s, the crucial person, the linchpin, wasn't the editor, wasn't the reporter, wasn't even the sub-editor correcting everything and inventing the headlines. It was the paper boy and the paper girl who delivered the newspaper before you left home. They were entrusted with imparting the news. I grew as a Christian because people took the risk of giving me responsibilities and allowing me to grow as a leader.
Who here is a vision champion? Put your hands up, please. Fantastic, great to see so many of you here. And those of you who are still considering being vision champions, please can I encourage you, that's a fantastic role and really important in terms of taking the vision forward in your local setting. So thank you very much for those who have already put themselves forward. So I am going to be working with the vision champions to help connect them, to come up with great ideas that can be shared, to be a support where it's required. Because the role is there to sort of work with the local PCC to make sure that the vision continues to be on that agenda, that local agenda in an appropriate local setting, not just for the next 3 months, 6 months, but as we go through the next few years. There's people working within the diocese. How do we explore some of those initiatives and how do we take some of that kind of forward? So I'll be working with the teams working on that and then how to feed that back through to the Vision Champions. And the third point is that my role is funded by the Church Commissioners. The Church Commissioners are those folks who've got quite a bit of assets that they kind of support the local dioceses around the country. There's 41 dioceses and they kind of help to provide some funding back into the local setting. And they recognise that church growth and healthy churches and transforming communities is really important, not just in Lancashire, but across the country. And they're putting some funding aside that we can put a strategic bid together, probably by October of this year, that we can then take forward some ideas and get some additional funding to help us. So part of the next few months is kind of getting ideas of what are the kind of themes that we can take forward and put a submission for.
I'm a minister for the church plant over in Buckshaw village, and I had the privilege of being on one of the teams for one of our bishops. Bishop Philip, Jeff and Julian all took a team out to Sheffield. And it was kind of 5 people. Bishop Philip managed to stifle away, I guess, 9 or 10 as he did. It was slightly cheeky, but I had the privilege of going with Bishop Jeff. And we went to an area in Doncaster, around there. And what I will say, it was an incredible privilege and incredibly encouraging from beginning to end. Now, the planning process was incredibly encouraging. Not only for us as the visiting team, I think, but also for the hosting team. I got a sense that they were sitting there, blue sky, thinking, as a church, thinking, how could we reach out to our community? How can we invest energy in what we're already doing to make it more effective in what it's doing? And we just got this sense that there were lots of ideas milling around, and then they would send an idea over to us as the visiting team, and then we would meet and discuss as a team and think, well, what one of us has the right gifts? What can we do? How can we best serve this church? So we really did have a sense, as that visiting team, that we weren't being just thrown upon them to do something, but we were being sent to be a blessing and to serve that hosting area. I can't encourage you enough to get on board with this Crossroads mission. It was a wonderful experience to be a part of, and I hope it was very good as well to be a hosting church. So that's just my experience.
Exciting, sociable, I like that. Growth, I like that. Visibility, great word. Invitation, critical word. Friendship, fantastic. Continuity, hope, I love that as well, I like continuity. Adventure. Partnership, brilliant.
Sorry?
Creativity.
Creativity. Over here. Sorry? Innovative. Fantastic. Anticipation. Hyphenate quickly.
Diocesan togetherness.
Diocesan togetherness. Well done. But I know that as they were preparing for it, because I've kind of talked to their planning team, there were moments where they did get anxious, think, is this going to come off? Will this work? And I think it's fascinating how many times in Scripture where God is going to do something, where God indicates something of his heart and his purpose and his direction, that as he shares that, the words that also accompany that kind of casting vision or indicating that God is going to work in a profound way, come the words, fear not. Actually, those words appear in the Bible 366 times. There's one for every day of the year, and God was thoughtful enough to include a leap year. Because the reason, they announce the good news to the shepherds, Christ is born. Good news and great joy for all of humanity. But actually, they're accompanied by the words, fear not, I bring you this news. Because often when God is working, we do get a bit anxious or a bit frightened. But the great thing is, and I think they're almost two sides of the same coin, that we have our anxiety, our fear, our nervousness, our trepidation, and alongside that, we have our excitement, our sense of hope and opportunity and creativity. And what we're going to ask churches to do is think about kind of what they might be able to do. And we're not asking you to do tons and tons of things. We'll explain about that in a moment. But what we're going to ask you to do is think about a handful, perhaps 3 events that you might do in a church. You might feel you've got a little bit of capacity for more. Don't go crazy, because we don't want you to kind of kill yourself. And then once you've come up with your ideas, what we're going to ask you to do is pitch those ideas to a deanery coordinator, and they will develop a deanery plan. We'll say a little bit more about that in a moment.
Special things, but you can do small special things as well. And one of the most successful ways of reaching out to people is reaching out to those we know and we're reasonably close to. And a way of doing that is through what we might call home meetings. So it's just simply someone saying, yes, I'll open up my house for a morning or an afternoon, just an hour, and put the kettle on, maybe serve some biscuits and cake, and invite friends, neighbours, colleagues, and also invite one of the team or the bishop to come and share their story. We've probably all got friends, most of us will have friends who know that we go to church and occasionally ask us questions. And this is a real chance for you to get someone else to answer those questions, because we don't always like answering them ourselves, do we? But use someone else. If you're happy enough to put the kettle on in your house, maybe run the hoover around a little bit, that's all you need to do. And then just invite the people you know to come and hear something of someone else's story.
Work with, as we were saying right at the beginning, about good news stories, how can we kind of connect with children, young people, and schools would be one way, but not exclusively the thing that we'd have to do. But really do think about how you could work with schools, how you could kind of make Crossroads impact your work with children and young people. I mentioned earlier on about the deanery coordinator. This is something different in your Vision Champions. And what we're asking for is each deanery to find one person who will kind of coordinate the Crossroads programme in the deanery. I recognise many of you from Labour Deaneries, some of you from other deaneries, and each deanery needs a coordinator. Probably having a clergy person do that would be a good idea.
because they'll naturally meet with other clergy and other churches through things like Champness and stuff like that. But it doesn't have to be a clergy person. Somebody who is well connected within the Deanery, perhaps part of the Deanery synod, lay chair, or secretary or something like that, who knows the churches, who they know that person, he or she. And the idea is that that person is appointed, and each church or parish evangelists puts in their bids for what they want to do. Think about who has helped you to find that relationship with Christ that is central to your life. So what I want you to do is stand up. What we're going to do is we're going to chat over there. You're going to be right by that. What I'd like us to do is hold silence for a moment. Think about that meeting. Possibly one or two of you have heard about that meeting. I'm guessing the vast majority of you haven't. Explain what the meeting is. He was a bloke, he was from America, he was a living Christian, a living relationship with Jesus, and he longed for his friends, kind of teenagers, young adults, to also discover that the same faith. And a speaker was coming to town, doing some special events, kind of like mini Crossroads, and Albert McMeekin wanted to try and encourage his friends to come and hear this speaker. And he invited a few of them to come along, and they were dead keen. And there was one lad who was dead keen to get to come along. But this lad, he was a farm boy, he was a bit of a dreamer, his life was kind of drifting. He didn't have a right lot of interest in life apart from farming and driving trucks. That was the other thing he loved doing. So Albert McMeekin had this bright idea, and he said, thought to himself, I'm going to borrow a truck from a farm, big flatbed truck, all that health and safety nightmare, all of what can pile on the back. But what I'll do is I'll say to my friend, look, will you come to this special event and you can drive the truck? So that was a kind of invitation. His friend said, lovely, I'd like to go, I'd love to drive the truck at least. Then when we went to hear this, not particularly famous speaker talk, the speaker communicated the gospel of Jesus Christ, explained it in simple terms, and this young lad who'd driven the truck was captivated by it. I thought, this is the most amazing story I've ever heard. The gospel, the good news of Jesus, has really, really made sense to me. And as the invitation to make a step of faith and choose to follow Jesus and give it, still I thought, I can't do anything apart from respond to this. This is for me. The name of that young farm boy from North Carolina was Everitt, who, regardless of what you make of that particular style of faith sharing, has spoken to millions of people, hundreds of thousands of people, on the origins of their faith, to his faithful communicating of the gospel. Yet the story of Billy Graham's journey to faith lies in Albert McMeekin. And to me, when we think about Crossroads, you think, oh, Archbishop Septimer's coming, Bishop Stephen's coming, Bishop Paul's coming, Bishop Liddy's coming, Bishop Allison's coming. Their names, wow, kind of leaders of the church. Without being disrespectful to those bishops, their names aren't important. It is not about the big names. It is about the Albert McMeekins, ordinary folk like you and me, who say to our friends, our neighbours, our work colleagues, our family members, we've got a do going on at our church. I'm going, it's going to be good, would you like to come? That's all you need to say. I'm going, it's going to be good, would you like to come?
There's a bit of work to do before we get to the weekend. What we want to say is, it's all about the local church, but we want to help you however we can. And there are a number of things going on in the next few months that you might want to plug into, you might find helpful as you prepare as parishes to get ready for Crossroads. So the first one of those is Go, which is on the 16th of April, so it's coming up, it's not so far away now, and it's in Chorley, it's at
Buckshaw College and it's Leyland.
It's Leyland, sorry, I think it's Leyland, so it's very local, at Buckshaw, and has anyone ever been to the Christian Resources exhibition when it's been in Manchester?
And a passion to be better for Jesus Christ, to be a healthy church, transformed community, to make a difference. There is an energy here that isn't necessarily found in other dioceses or in other parts of the church. And we sometimes don't realise it, or we take it for granted, or we say, it'll do. But actually, what is there is special and wonderful, and thanks to you, because you live out being church a place where everybody matters. And I encourage you to continue doing that. We're going to now have a few prayers, which I think are led by Alistair. So together we pray. Heavenly Father, we embrace your call